Shout out to Tactical Adventures because they sent me a copy of their tabletop rulebook for the world of Solasta, which we're going to go through a little bit today and just take a peek at. If you have not played Solasta Crown of the Magisters, you need to. This was an awesome CRPG I played when it launched. It's got to be 3-ish years ago now. I did not find out about the game until I can't remember, maybe 6 or 8 months before launch, might have been a year before launch, because someone was pointing out to me the fact that they had like dice rolls and all this other stuff, and I was like, ooh, that sounds like fun. And then I got my hands on it and was like, oh, this is fun. This is a pretty awesome CRPG. So there's some playlists down below if you want to go watch my playthroughs. There's a bunch of reviews in there. I've played everything except for the most recent expansion because I was too busy with other stuff when it came out. Might have been like Baldur's Gate 3 launch, I forget. But it's a great CRPG. And if I remember correctly, this TTRPG handbook was originally like part of like the Kickstarter awards. They did a campaign a couple of weeks back on social media asking if any content creators wanted copies to just reach out, fill out a form. I did. I got a copy. I want to show it off here. Now, I have a little bit of a more unique history than some might have with this because I don't just dabble in games. I'm also a game developer. I've got 10 years under my belt. I've founded 2 different studios, launched an MMORPG, launched the tabletop RPG that we have, a point and click adventure game. There's a book series, 2 book series actually. I've done a lot in this space. So I have a secondary interest in this because I also created a tabletop rulebook, sourcebook, adventure modules, and everything else, which is the most recent project we just wrapped up earlier in 2024. So this hit home for me because I saw them do a world with a rule book that you could go use for whether it's Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or whatever system you want to use, and have an actual world that you could go play in beyond the just the CRPG, which is excellent in and of its own right. Anyway, I've rambled for quite a bit. Let's actually dive into this and take a look. If you're familiar with TTRPG rulebooks, you know what we're about to dive into. But if you've never seen one before, one of the things I've always loved about tabletop role-playing books like Dungeons and Dragons, the Pathfinder, Starfinder, any sort of source book that you're going to get your hands on for a world is going to be chock full of amazing art. And if you love worlds and settings and world building, you're going to get way more meat off the bone when it comes to a TTRPG campaign rulebook than you are from a video game. A video game is great, a book is great, but when you can lay everything out in such a way, you're providing everybody with the Bible, the show Bible, of how to create their own imaginative campaigns within the setting, which is awesome. And I love artwork, so we're going to dive in. So, Tactical Adventures, if you haven't heard of them, you should check them out. Again, check out the playlists below if you want to go check out my Solasta playthroughs of the CRPG. Look at that artwork. Love it. The credits page, Tactical Adventures. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see here. I wanted to check out something here real quick. Designers, contributors, proofreaders, editors. Notice of open game content. This was also, for those of you who don't know, created under the 5th edition D&D rule set under the open game license, which has since, I don't know how much they've modified, how much they're adhering to it or not, but they've got their designation of open game content here, which is different from the stuff that's in the well, that's a topic for another day. That's just, remember, this is a 5th edition world. So if you go play the CRPG, it is 5th edition D&D, just so you're aware, with their own unique spin on things. Okay, we've got a whole bunch of stuff here. We got the first expedition telling you what is Solasta, Ferendrag, the Badlands, the people of Solasta, Kaer Siflin, backgrounds, monsters. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. The Art of Solasta is on page 149. We're definitely going to be checking that out. So there's an entry here, which, again, I'm not going to be reading through everything here. I want you to go get your hands on this and dive into it. Again, if you love tabletop and you want to play in a cool campaign setting, this is definitely a world I would look for. I don't have time this year. I would love to do an actual play series of this. Like, next year would be cool. I don't know what my schedule looks like next year, but I loved the Solasta world enough, and I'm familiar enough with 5th edition D&D that it would be an easy thing to jump in and do an actual play. Plus, I think we have a pro license on Fantasy Grounds, sorry. which we have the 5th edition stuff already preloaded, so it would be really easy to go do this. I'm just saying. The first expedition. These two documents, recovered by council deputies, shed a unique light on the fate of the first expedition to the Badlands. Nothing was heard from the expedition after it left Koparan. And these accounts, one from a simple soldier and the other from the expedition's commanding officer, combine to provide a detailed insight into the expedition's progress and eventual destruction. Let this testimony speak for the bravery of all council troops. Wherever they came from, they fought for the council and for Solasta, and their sacrifice must be acknowledged. Protector Lyra Keen, Church of the Aenar. There's a captain's logbook that you can read through. So it's giving you quite a bit of lore background. I love this piece of artwork. Love it. Dear Mother. So they've put a lot of love into this from what I can see. You've got a ton of like notes and artwork and things talking about tips and little snippets of story, and then you get to the part of what is Solasta. This part we can actually look at a little bit. Solasta is an old world. So this is where they've taken the 5th edition rule set and some of the races that come with that, but then expanded out into their own concept here. Solasta is an old world. In the age before history, 3 intelligent humanoid species arose on Solasta: the halflings, the dwarves, and the elves. Over time, different lineages arose: proud high elves and wild sylvan elves, stout hill dwarves and rugged snow dwarves, reclusive marsh halflings and adventurous island halflings. So here they're giving you some background. Here are the races you're going to be able to play in our world. Here's the history. There was war. Dark times born from the High Elven Manichaean Empire, which sought dominion over the world. There's a whole backstory here about the Empire's Iron Legions, the magical mart of the Arcanium, the Silent Whisper, secret police service, etc., and how everything hit until the Cataclysm. Every world needs a Cataclysm, whether it's Dragonlance, whether it's Forgotten Realms. We had a Cataclysm in our world that happened about 500 years before the start of the world, which brings together brings the humans north into the realm of the Fae. So here we have a magical disaster that happened called the Cataclysm. Mana drained from the land, and bereft of the magic that sustained it, the Manichaean Empire fell. The land was warped and twisted. Volcanoes erupted, mountains collapsed, earthquakes shattered the land, and civilization teetered on the brink of extinction. Now, more than 1,000 years later, the peoples of Solasta survived, new nations have arisen, humans are a part of this new world. Their gods thrive on Solasta, wizards can work their wonders again, the relics of the Empire are everywhere, adventurers have begun to wander into the chaotic and monster-haunted Badlands in search of priceless treasure. This presents the history of Solasta as it happened. No one knows everything, no one alive knows everything, except perhaps for the most ancient dragons. Any document will be more or less inaccurate depending on who wrote it, when, and why. That's a great note for DMs. To Solastan scholars, history is awash with inconsistencies and contradictions. This is one reason why documents recovered from the Badlands command such high prices. One of the cool things if you've never played Solasta is when you're uncovering and you're adventuring in Solasta, you're making dice rolls to see whether or not you know enough about the lore. It's history rolls and lore rolls to discover documents and pillars that you can read and so on and so forth. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Again, if you haven't played the CRPG, please do. It's a great game. We've got a timeline: the Elven Draconic Wars, the Early Empire, First Expansion, Second Expansion, Cataclysm, Century of Chaos, Civilization Reborn, New Realms, the Modern Age. So you've been given roughly 6,000 years of history to work with here as a DM. And if you're a player, just understand that there are about 6,000 years of history going into this. You got the calendars, talking more about the Century of Chaos. This is all the history stuff. And then for the themes, this is certain themes run throughout the Solasta setting and are encountered again and again as the player characters learn more about the world. There's the Cataclysm, the Fallen Empire, the Rift, the Badlands, the Marches, political intrigue, the hidden enemy. There's a ton of this stuff that shows up in the CRPG as well. So if you really want to get deep into the lore of Solasta, this is like a great backstory to everything that's happening in the CRPG as well as in the tabletop RPG. So you'll be even more prepped to go play the CRPG if you haven't done it yet. And this is totally I swear I'm not paid by these guys, but I do feel I deserve, to give it justice considering I got a free copy of the PDF. And also, I did love the game, so yeah, I'm going to promote it. You should definitely play it. It did very well on my channel when we played it, so I'm happy to promote them. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. The continent of Frendrag. This is where you're going to be exploring. It's a pretty good map. I can dig it. More information on the principalities, the pact. Oh man, there's just some great artwork throughout here. Look at this. We're scrolling. I didn't even check how many pages. There's 198 pages in this. So we've got a ton of information for those of you who want to dig in. So let me go back to the top really quick, because one thing I did want to go check out, if we can, was the artwork. Page 149 is what we want to go to. Here's what we're bringing into this is the open game content. The Art of Solasta. The art available in this section dates from the early access of Solasta Crown of the Magister. It offers a perfect window in how we originally built the visuals for the game. We hope you enjoy perusing our earlier works, all from before the game was even released. So this is from like concept art and stuff from the early days, and this is the stuff that I really love to look at. So this is the first concept art created for Solasta Crown of the Magister, painted by our art director while on holiday during the early days of the project. Really awesome, man. I can dig it. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. More early concepts, notes, sketches. I don't want to spoil all this, everybody. I want you to go out and get a copy of this and check it out, because there's a lot of good stuff in this game. So I'll leave you on this. If you have not played Solasta Crown of the Magister, what are you waiting for? It's a great CRPG. It is not a massive budget like Baldur's Gate 3, so if you come into this game expecting massive mocap, cinematic narrative cutscenes, you're not going to find that. You are going to find a really good mechanical game, 5th edition D&D, a very interesting world. The CRPG, I've reviewed it, I've played it a lot. It's a great game. It does have its weaknesses like any independent title. You know, there's a sort of a limited amount of character models, limited amount of voiceovers. The character models aren't like AAA. Like I said, it's not like full mocap, any of those things. But that doesn't take away from the fact that there's a very rich, deep world here, which they use as a basis for a really rich, deep, tactical CRPG. So if you like the pause-based gameplay with the grids, where you're, you know, timing everything down to the last second, and you're strategizing all your moves with a party system with multiple people in your party, highly recommend this game. Check it out. Check out the PDF, and maybe stick around for whether or not we decide to do an actual play series next year. You never know. It could show up. Damn camera. And let me know if you're going to play this TTRPG, because I'd love to check out your actual play series if you're going to be doing this live on Twitch or YouTube. So share those in the links down below, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Don't forget daily streams here and on Twitch at 11 a.m. Central Time, and sometimes in the afternoons as well. So we'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Happy gaming.